Lakers brought to you by your Toyota dealers. We make it easy. Chris McGee alongside Danny Green and big game James Worthy. We have Mike Trudell out in Cleveland. The Lakers get blown out on the road by the shorthanded Cavs in Cleveland, suffering their worst loss of the year. I was looking at this. With 8 minutes left in the second quarter, the Lakers were up 40-30. They had a 10-point lead. They only scored 59 points the rest of the way in that game. It was their 7th loss by 20 or more points. And the Cavs hit 17 threes. They had 14 offensive rebounds, James. It's just disappointing because when this game started and you were about a quarter and a half way through, it just felt like this was a game where we thought the Lakers should have been up 15-20, but the Cavs were kind of hanging around with the offensive rebounds, and then it just turned.
Yeah, this was very unexpected. You know, I thought with the shorthanded Cavs and with the Lakers, having most of their players back, with the exception of Reeves, I thought they would really want to get this one mentally before they went on to Washington, which I think is a win. But they just didn't take care of business. You know, they allowed Cleveland to get a ton of offensive rebounds. The Lakers didn't shoot the ball well from 3, and Cleveland did. So there was a combination of things that happened for Cleveland while things stopped happening for the Lakers, which mainly was rebounding and defending.
Yeah, unexpected is a very good word for this game, especially the way it started. I mean, Luka got hurt, but they were up, like you said, double digits. Yep. And I thought they had a chance to go into the half with double digits and going down to. That third quarter is kind of where it really got away from them. They lost by 20, only scored 22 points, but let them get 40. I know they got killed in the offensive glass, but mostly in the first half. You know, they gave up 10 in the first half, 4 in the second half, so they did a better job of that. Maybe because they made so many damn shots in the second half that there wasn't many offensive rebounds to get. But, you know, you don't see games like that where LeBron's coming home and he played that type of performance from him. That's why it's unexpected for me. Because usually adrenaline, the emotions, some guys either play really good or really bad. And he's been in that building so many times as an opponent. I didn't expect him to have a bad night like right now, you know, at this point in his career. I expect him to come out and play well. And it looked like one of those first time coming home type of games for a guy that he's been there multiple times to perform like that. But he wasn't the only one that didn't perform well. You know, Rui didn't shoot well. Everybody pretty much except for Luka is the only person. Gabe shot decent well, and then Bronny's the only one that played well. So outside of those guys, you know, it was really a struggle for they just didn't have it. And you know, hopefully they find it somewhere and pick it back up, because it would have been really nice to be 4-1 to start the road trip. But you know, you got to go into DC and hopefully this is a rude awakening, a little eye-opener, and get you kind of refocused on what's ahead. I do want to talk LeBron, but before we get to that third quarter that Danny just hit on, James, was the ball game for sure, because even though the Lakers had that 10-point lead, they were only down 2 going into that third. So you felt, and we talked about it at halftime, if you could come out and punch first, have a good quarter, now it's a game, and it's very winnable. 42-22, 68% from the Cavs, and they made 7 threes and ran away with the game, never stopped.
Yeah, they had the energy that was needed in the third to do what they did, and the Lakers did not. They didn't take care of the basketball. They didn't rebound well. They couldn't get to the three-point shooters, you know, and then they allowed Cleveland to do pretty much what they wanted to in the third, and there was no resistance. And from that point, that gave Cleveland a lot of confidence, and they just took the game from there. I think they went up, what, 20? 21 point they went up?
Yeah, I mean, they won the quarter by 20. Did you say 68% from the field?
Yes.
I mean, I say this all the time. 7 for 11 from 3, 68 from the field. That's hard to do with no defense. So
for real,
they
like
shot
just in
it,
practice.
Yeah, they shot it very well. And it's not like the Lakers played no defense. They still contest there, but they just had a hot quarter. And you could just see the momentum shift, the energy shift, and that's what kind of built up their confidence for them to knock down those shots. I mean, Don hit 2, Donovan Mitchell, that is, and then Dean Wade hit 2 in the corner. That was kind of the start of it. They hit 4 threes in the first 5 minutes of that third quarter. That kind of dictated the tempo and the pace in which the momentum was going to swing in Cleveland's hands. So you got to start the second half a little better. And honestly, again, we talked about it before. This year with 17-0 and leading at halftime, them giving up that halftime, that last 5 to 6 minutes in the second quarter, kind of dictated the rest of the game for them.
Yeah, I think we all felt they would have at least a small lead going in.
I thought at least 8 to 10.
Yeah. Let's talk three-pointers, guys, from the Cavs, 17-44. We've seen this in recent weeks here with the Lakers. Teams just catching fire. This is a Cavs team that's won 4 games in a row. And tonight, James, they were 17 of 44 for 39% from 3 and multiple guys with multiple threes. So it wasn't just Donovan Mitchell tonight.
Yeah, a little confusion on the defense. You had, guys collapsing, guys not rotating. You see, Luka comes from the corner, leaves the corner guy out. LeBron couldn't get there in time. So just a step slow or no steps at all on some of them. They were uncontested in getting to those three-point shots.
Yeah, I think the rotations were a little half a sec behind, but more so that's the gravity or the gravitational pull that Donovan Mitchell brings, right? They're doubling him, they're respecting him as they should, and that's leaving some other guys open. I think they wanted other guys to beat them, and those other guys kind of stepped up and made those plays. The first half, it was Jared Allen.
Jared Allen, yeah.
He was getting rolls to the basket and finishing confidently, getting rebounds. They kind of try to shut that down some, but then second half, Dean Wade gets some shots. Tyson gets some shots. And then, Tomlin, he's getting out on the break and getting some dunks. So then it was just a domino effect. And then Don, eventually opened up the court more for Don because you got to play him honest now because those other guys are playing. Then he gets going and he leads the league second half scoring. So once he gets going and everybody else starts hitting shots, it's kind of curtains for you, especially if you're not having a great night offensively yourself.
All right, let's talk a little LeBron James. Danny already brought him up. Listen, we spent a lot of the pregame show nationally. It was talked a lot about today. LeBron James going back to Cleveland, and nobody knows if this will be the last time he will ever play in that arena. He has not made any mention of what the future is yet because he said he does not know. So the hope is that you get to see him again, but we don't know that. So we showed LeBron's numbers when he came into the league to now and how similar they were. We talked about how remarkable and ridiculous and silly that actually is. The man's still doing it at 41 years of age. Tonight just was one of those nights. We don't really see him that often from LeBron. Just had a hard time to get it going, James. 3 for 10 with 11 points, 3 rebounds, 5 assists.
Yeah. There are times this year, I've asked myself, why do we expect so much out of LeBron?
Every single night, because he gives it to you every single night.
Because he continues to give it to us as if he's still like in his prime.
Yeah.
But at 41, I mean, Danny can tell you at 35, 36, just some nights it's just not going to be there. And I can imagine for him, it wasn't emotional coming back. So you build up that emotion coming back, spend a lot of energy with that, and probably took away from his game, but it just wasn't there tonight for him.
And by the way, we mentioned this a couple weeks ago when we looked at the schedule. And the schedule from mid-January on, that was coming up all the way through the All-Star break. They are playing every other night. LeBron is not sitting out games. He is playing on back-to-backs the last few times. So there's not a lot of break for him. That's not an excuse, but as James said, those minutes do add up, and you will have nights like this. Everyone will in the NBA, including LeBron James.
Regardless of the nights, regardless of the schedule, people are human.
Yes.
It's just weird for us to see him look human because he hasn't done it enough. And because he's been so great for so long that when he has a human night, it just looks that much worse because we're used to seeing him score, 30 and 40. And even on his bad nights, he's had 24 or 25. He's 41 years old now. So, he still got double digits, 11 points, 3 rebounds, 5 assists. He only took 10 shots. So it's a rough night for him, but it looks way worse than it is because of how great he's been in the past. But he definitely deserves some grace. Yeah, man, he's just an unbelievable superstar for these years that our expectation is so high from him. It's unfair for him.
We're going to go to JJ in a moment. I do want to ask this because we talked going into this game for 2 days that this was a big one, because if you win this game in Cleveland and you look ahead to Washington, Brooklyn, and New York, you have a chance at 4-1 on an 8-game long road trip.
Or 5-1,
longest they've had in a long time. You have a chance to look at a 7-1 road trip. I mean, it's still alive, and that would be epic.
Or at least a 6-2.
But now, listen, you still have a chance at a good road trip.
I like 6-2.
But I think that's the disappointment.
You got to make up one now. Yeah, you got to make up a game for the one that you lost to Cleveland, which I think they probably thought they should have had. Although Cleveland had been playing pretty good.
4 in a row, they've been playing much better.
Without the 2 guys, they still won 3 or 4 in a row. So, but now you got to dig deep. You got to look at that Knick game and say we got to get that one now.
Can't look past Washington.
You can't look past Washington, but you got to pick up one to make up for this.
There's still a chance for a very good road trip.
6-2 sounds good too.
6-2 in an 8-game stretch is.
Try to get those 3. Those next 3 would be nice.
Yeah. All right, time to hear from Coach JJ Redick, brought to you by your Toyota dealers.